Good morning, Husker fans, and welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette. We are also live on the Husker Big Red Facebook page as well as the Big Red Banter. So thanks for everybody who's joining us on social media on this Saturday morning. We got another big basketball game coming up for the Huskers here at 11 Central Time, so we can look ahead at that. But mostly we're going to talk about the transfer portal, some of the moves that Nebraska's been making there. We can offer up some grades, react to what's happened so far. Still work to do, still a lot of things that are kind of happening, a lot of moving parts with the Huskers. So we'll break down all that and hop in the chat. Let us know what you want to discuss, any other relevant topics to Nebraska. So yeah, before we get into it, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, get into the comment section. And Danny, how are you on this Saturday morning?
I'm doing well. I've been watching a lot of college football over the past couple of days, and college football playoff talk would be relevant for this chat too. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit weekend too. But I've been doing well. Patriots play tomorrow, so I'm fired up for that. It's been a little bit since a playoff game at home in Gillette Stadium, so things are trending upwards on all accounts.
Yes, got the NFL playoffs starting tonight. Obviously, the college football playoff wrapped up, or at least the semifinals wrapped up last night.
Are your Packers
good morning.
tonight? Is that this afternoon?
Yeah, Packers and Bears tonight.
Oh.
So should be a good one. And good morning, James. Good to see you back in the chat again. Thanks for stopping by. Also, thanks Andrew as well. And he says good morning, James. So off and running it. And I guess to start with the college football playoff, and we'll kind of get into the transfer portal grades. But a couple of interesting games. Two close, well, I guess one close game, and then one total just domination from Indiana, which did surprise me a little bit. I thought that was going to be more of a competitive game, but I mean, when you have a pick six and then you fumble the ball and you have a blocked punt, I mean, they basically kind of gave them 3 touchdowns. Not saying that it would have been more competitive without those plays, but I mean, probably would have. But this Indiana team, they look on a different level, and they're one thing that's really true about them that's kind of reminds me of college basketball, or some of these recent college basketball teams that have won in recent years, is they're really, really old. I mean, all these guys are like, late 20, like not late 20s, but, they're going into their 4th, 5th, 6th year. And so that didn't always used to be a factor in college football, but it has been in the past few years. Like you look at when Michigan won their championship in 2023, they had a very old roster. Ohio State had a very old roster as well. So, that is something to think about, that, and Penn State tried to have an older team this year, and then everything just kind of fell apart on them. But that's kind of been the trend in college football, is, trying to get older. And, it does make sense when you got, 23 and 24-year-olds, sometimes 25-year-olds, playing against 18 and 19-year-old kids. So it does make a bit of a difference.
It definitely does. I mean, and you look at the average age of some of these quarterbacks. Carson Beck is 23. Not that 23 is old by college standards, but it's certainly old when you compare it to the 20 and 21-year-olds. And then you have, these transfer portal guys from Indiana who, like you said, their average age is 23. So, I mean, there is something to the older roster type of mentality. You're on mute.
On that note, thank you for that. On that note, I was going to say Nebraska, has been trying to get older with a lot of these transfer portal, commitments. Now, some of them do have, multiple years to play, but like Brendan Black is, started 30 games. He's a senior coming in here. Trey, or Trey Tree, but Baldy, he's, started a lot of, 15 games, but still an experienced player. I would say, Chambliss has started. McDougal's a guy who started at multiple places, Idaho and San Diego State, played a lot of snaps. So I do think that that's a valuable thing. You look at, Quasi Gilmore, he's a guy that, a reception in 23 straight games. UCLA's leading receiver last year, 55 receptions, 535 yards. So, I feel like they're getting, guys that have experience. I know with like Anthony Jones, I know it's, he's only had, 2.5 sacks or 3.5 sacks or whatever it is over the past, 2 seasons, but he still had, 16 pressures last year. He can play, multiple spots on the defensive line. Not everybody that you get from the transfer portal, is going to be a superstar, but sometimes you need to have some of those depth pieces as well. So, I mean, overall, I think Nebraska's done a solid job. I mean, if you look across some of the rankings, I mean, if you look at the like on 3, probably, or rivals, I guess if we want to call it rivals, I don't think that they have Nebraska, with a single 4-star, among the transfer ratings. Not saying that matters that much either way. The 24/7 rankings don't have them, much higher than that. I think they've got, maybe 1 or 2 4-stars, but again, those rankings, I think don't mean as much to me, when it comes to the
No.
transfer portal. But yeah, so I guess we can start there. We're a week into this thing, so there's still obviously the portal's going to be open for another week, and then I believe the college football playoff teams have a certain amount of time, once their season ends, to enter the transfer portal. So some of these guys, even if they aren't if they're still in the playoff, they still have a chance, I believe, to enter the portal after that. So I don't know. I'd have to double check that though. I know that's how
I
worked
believe so,
before.
because I've heard some announcements are lined up after the college football playoff. So I think there is like a grace period, if you will.
So there could be some more guys jumping into the portal. In terms of targets, could be more guys leaving Nebraska. I don't think there's probably going to be any more at this point, although you never know. I mean, you just never know how things are going to shake out. But looking at this class overall, I mean, through a week, how would you guys in the chat, how would you grade it? What do you think about this transfer portal haul? I mean, what positions do you still, want to look at? So yeah, let's just kind of break it down. So I'll kick that over to you, Danny. They've got nine transfers so far. I'm scrolling through 24/7 right now.
Want to do a letter grade for each guy?
Sure. Yeah, we can go through.
Yeah.
So, looking at it right now, I mean, the only 4-star according to 24/7 is Brandon Black. So I mean, we can start there. He was the first commitment. So how would you grade Brendan Black?
I would say A. You fill him in immediately for Rocco Spindler. He's got 3 years of experience, solid offensive lineman. I think that was a much needed pickup.
Yeah, 30 guy who started 30 games. I think he'll be a pretty solid player. So I would give that an A. And then you've got Owen Chambliss, 6'3", 230 pounds. He's rated as a 3-star by 24/7 Sports in terms of his pickup. I think they had him as the number 12 linebacker. He's dropped down to the number 14 linebacker right now in the portal.
I mean, I've wanted him from day one, so I'll give him an A too, because he fills 2 needs. He fills having a player that Coach Ulrich is familiar with, and also he fills the need for a linebacker. So I'd give him an A too. I promise, guys, he's not going to be all A's. I promise.
I do agree with that one. I think he's he's the number 12 or 14th linebacker. So, I mean, I feel like he's probably, he's close to 4-star territory. So I don't think everybody would, bat an eye if he was a 4-star. What about, filling the right tackle need, although there's, potentially another candidate on the board who could be a tackle in the portal coming to this roster, but Tree Babalade, how would you grade this for Nebraska's kind of right tackle pickup, I guess?
B- because he doesn't. I don't think he had a ton of starting experience last year, but he does have the size, and he's reuniting with his former coach and Lonnie Teasley, so I think he could have high upside.
Yeah, I think a B for your, think about this guy's probably going to be your starting right tackle. I think that's a B because he does have upside, I think, to be, a 12-game starter, probably a guy that could have the raw ability to go to the NFL. He started 15 games. He started the last 5 at right tackle last year. He has had, played really well at times for South Carolina, not played well at times. So he's kind of been an up and down guy, sort of like it reminds me a lot of Elijah Pritchett in that pickup. So I think this is a move where he's got to, what the floor is, right? Like, he can start and play in the SEC and he's not going to be terrible. He's not going to be, he's probably going to be better than Turner Corcoran. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but just saying, like, I believe he would be an upgrade there.
I hear his name. Yeah.
So I think he's got a decent floor and an even higher ceiling, and you've got Jeep Wade to work with him as well now. So yeah, I think that's a solid B move, for the transfer portal. He's a 3-star, but again, he's one of the higher ranked ones for Nebraska. He's the 17th ranked offensive tackle. So they've got, and Brendan Black was the 3rd ranked interior offensive lineman. So you've got top 20 players at 3, pretty important positions. So I think that's, doing pretty well. Move up the list here. Will Hawthorne.
I'm going to give him a B+ for right now. There isn't a ton of college production, but I wanted him when they were recruiting him, and he's the former Iowa High School Player of the Year for 2024. So again, a lot of high upside. A very good linebacker. I mean, it's not like he can't play. You're not the Iowa player of the year by accident. So B.
Yeah, I would give this one a B. I mean, because they really clearly wanted to upgrade or just get linebackers that fit this system better. And this guy fits really well. 6'2", 225, ran 10.97 in the 100-meter dash coming out of high school. So when you talk about guys who can cover like sideline to sideline and make tackles, like that's it. You need, what can help you be like an elite defense is having elite athletes who can tackle. And so
watching these last 2 games this week prove that for me.
Yeah, and that's one thing that's like overrated. That's one thing we don't talk about enough of, we don't talk about it enough. Excuse me, is like really good defenses tackle while they don't miss tackles, and that adds up over time because it stops like those 5-yard gains from becoming 8, 9, 10-yard gains, and then you hold teams into third downs, and you see it with Indiana. They just don't make mistakes. Very very rarely do they make mistakes, and so yeah, it's going to be a really interesting matchup next week. And
even with a team like Miami, they're one of the worst tackling teams in the nation, but you wouldn't notice that because they all rally to the football and get to the ball carrier quick. So even the poor tackling teams can tackle well by a group, so to speak, by committee, I guess.
Okay, so let's talk about, I would say, the biggest, most important addition for Nebraska so far, Anthony Colandrea. How would you grade the quarterback pickup for the Huskers? Oops.
B+.
I meant to mute myself and I muted you, but here you're good.
Am I good? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. B+. Because I know people want to be like, man, Mountain West, blah, blah, blah. But he was Mountain West Player of the Year. He has the arm. I understand the interceptions are a little bit of a worry, but he didn't have as many at UNLV. And he's got a hell of a lot of moxie and swagger. So I love that. And I know that doesn't count for shit when evaluating a player, but I do love it. So I'll give him a B. I want to see that moxie back.
I think it matters for something. Yeah, I would agree with I'll give it a B+, because I think there's a few factors here. I mean, one, Nebraska's really put behind the 8 ball by Kenny Minchey, and so I think rebounding the way that they did to get a guy who's played a lot of football, over 7,500 passing yards, over 1,100 rushing yards. He's got like 64 career total touchdowns, 49 of those coming through the air. He had 10 rushing touchdowns last season, 34 total touchdowns. Mountain West Player of the Year, obviously, playing under Dan Mullen's system, worked well. Hopefully, like we all want to try to criticize Dana a little bit, but it does matter, the ingredients that you're making your dinner with. And I think that this, in terms of the ingredients, I think Calandria is going to fit a little bit better. And he's just a totally different quarterback too. I mean,
what's up, Co? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Co. And but I mean, like we had Raiola, who's 6'3", 230 pounds, a statue. I mean, to me, like if you want to make an NFL comparison to like Dylan Raiola, the quarterback he reminds me of is Drew Bledsoe. Like honestly. And that just came to me like right now. But think about it, that's who he reminds me of. Is like a Drew Bledsoe. He cannot, he's got a great arm if he's got a perfect situation. And like this guy, like he probably is like more like Doug Flutie. Like, you know what I mean? If I was rushing out, because that's who he's like. He's 5. They say he's 6 foot. I think he's more 5'11". But I mean, he's
about
just
30 minutes away from me. Doug Flutie did. See him all the time. I'm around town, so I love it. I love Doug Flutie.
That's awesome. The Flutie
Patriots Chargers mentioned, by the way, too. So shout out to Doug.
I love when he did the drop kick PAT. That's I love. But that's kind of who this guy reminds. He's bigger. He's not like 5'9", but he's a strong 5'11", and
that's a great comparison. Yeah.
He's got the arm. He can make things happen, and he's gonna have a few interceptions. I mean, he's had at least 9 interceptions every year, but he's also thrown double-digit touchdowns. And sometimes I don't mind the playmaking. You're gonna make mistakes, but that's how you make great plays too. And it felt like at times that Dylan was a little afraid. I don't know if he didn't want to like throw interceptions. Like that's the kind of the Aaron Rodgers thing is like, he didn't want to throw some of those passes because he was afraid it would hurt his statistics. I don't know if that was the Raiola thing either, but I got that vibe. Sometimes it's like, why aren't you making some of these throws?
Knowing him and the family, maybe that's what it was. Yeah. No, but especially the Minnesota game. Granted, the offensive line didn't do him any favors, but there were a couple times where I'm like, you got to get the ball out quick and help your line just a little bit.
And I like that too, that they've got, a veteran who, he's not going to be confused by different defenses. Like he's going to be able to get the ball. And I feel like, they're going to be able to run with him. They're going to be able to just get the ball out quick decisions and all those types of things. So I feel like, the B+, a good pickup for Nebraska. It's obviously not like a super I don't know, a superstar, but I'm not really sold that, like, Brendan Sorsby and Sam I know that they're good players, but I'm still not sold they're worth the $5 million or whatever they're going to be getting.
No, I mean, and look at Trinidad Chambliss. He was not a superstar by definition. He turned into one over the season, basically. But I mean, they don't have to be superstars. They just have to have playmakers around them, and I think Nebraska is getting there.
All right, so continuing on, Dwayne McDougal, 5'11", 208-pound safety. We talked about him a little bit, but how would you grade that addition for Rob Orich's defense?
I would give this one an A because he's really good at tackling. He's really good also at defending passes and being active with the football. When you talk about guys that fit in your scheme, McDougal definitely does, in my opinion. So, you're losing. You lost Malcolm Hartzog. You're losing Deshaun Singleton and Javin Wright and those types of guys. So he could come in and play right away and make an impact. I believe he had the second Pro Football Focus. I know I don't really love them either, but run stopping grade in the Mountain West. So I like the addition a lot.
And he had 4 interceptions last year, 6 in his career. So he's got those ball skills. So yeah, I would give his addition an A. And for just going back to our quarterback comments there, Ko says I agree in saying overpay for some of these quarterbacks, which I want to talk about another quarterback here in just a second. But let's finish these grades here. Dexter Foster, so 3 linebackers. You got 9 commitments, 3 of them are linebackers. What's your grade for Dexter Foster?
B. I think he can be a really good player. I'm not sure what his ceiling is, but I think we've seen his floor, and it's pretty damn good. So B, definitely.
Yeah, this is one where if you look at his ranking from 24/7, he's ranked like in the 1100s as a transfer prospect, which I think is kind of weird. I mean, he played a lot of football. So I would give this in addition a B. I mean, I think he's a really kind of a quick sideline to sideline guy, a really athletic guy, and played pretty well for Oregon State. So and so now on to the UCLA guys. Anthony Jones. This one's kind of registered some debate among Nebraska fans. 6'5", 265-pound edge. He's played for UCLA, Michigan State, I think some other teams. What's your grade on him?
Well, first off, I know his fans are complaining that he played for 5 different teams. Get used to it, people. I mean, you're gonna see a lot more of this. But C right now. I mean, if he can get pressure, then I think that's pretty good. He looks really quick in some of the stuff that I've watched, and I know the stats aren't there, but I mean, to me, sacks are important for sure. But if you can disrupt the quarterback just by getting pressure, that's a win right there. So I'll give him a C for right now.
Yeah, I'll give it a C plus just because he's probably a rotational type guy, but he led UCLA in pressures. He had 5 pressures against USC last season, 9 quarterback hurries the last 2 seasons. So I mean, hurries and pressures are a little bit different. So I mean, I think that it's legitimate to have that. Plus, he's big enough. I think that he can play more than one position. I think he could potentially bump inside, give you some rush options there. So, versatile defensive lineman. I think that was needed on this team. They obviously need more, but I'll give him a C plus.
What's the difference between pressure and a hurry?
I honestly don't know how they register that. I think a hurry. There's just. I think a pressure is like the count of pressure is a hurry, a sack, or I don't know. I can't explain it to you, I guess.
I'm gonna look it up and then I'm gonna tell the chat once I find out.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a weird. I think like pressure, like I don't think pressures are like an official stat that they take. I think that's like a Pro Football Focus thing, and so
of course it is.
But anyway, that's. Probably, like, to be honest, I don't think there's probably much of a difference between a hurry and a pressure, but
okay. So quarterback pressure is the overarching term for any disruption by a defender near the quarterback, while a hurry is a specific type of pressure that forces the quarterback to throw earlier or scramble, but doesn't result in a sack or knockdown.
Okay. So I guess
if you told me here's a scorebook, make sure to register Anthony Jones' pressures versus hurries, I would have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I mean,
I guess I don't really. And I mean, you'd think a hurry would always be a pressure, but anyway, I don't know. That's what I mean. It's kind of weird, but So yeah, I like him. What about Quasi Gilmer, 6'2", 180-pound receiver, led UCLA in receptions, 23 games in a row with the reception.
I'll give it a B. And I was looking, I was looking more on Gilmer, and I said, where have I heard that name before? And then I searched him up on YouTube, and the Nebraska game came up last year, 2024, when he had 3 catches for 88 yards, and I had to watch Marquise Buford fall on his ass trying to guard Gilmer, and I'm like, oh yeah, now I remember. Now I remember where Gilmer was effective. So I think he'll be good here. Offers a veteran wide receiver to the room, very twitchy, very fast. I think he's another good target.
Yeah, I actually would give this an A. I really like this pickup. You know, they needed another guy, kind of a possession, not a possession, but you know, like a more reliable kind of over the middle type receiver. And to me, that's Gilmer. I mean, he's averaged just over 10 yards per reception for his career. So not like an explosive play waiting to happen, but a guy that's just reliable. Like I said, 23 games in a row with a reception. So I just like the impact that he can have on this room. Gilmer is a solid B, says Co. Hope that him coming doesn't make Clark leave. Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. We'll see though. I mean, yeah, Quinn Clark could be one. I do think, you know, Quinn Clark does have a chance to play a little bit of a different role like that, you know, that home run hitting type, but we'll see. He had some moments. He had a nice play in the bowl game. He also, you know, kind of mistimed that jump against Iowa, but he's an incredible athlete, Quinn Clark. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, no, because you covered him extensively, right? Back in Montana.
Yeah, he's a high jump champion. You know, played basketball, he played football, obviously, but played both sides. I mean, he's punted, he can make 50-yard field goals. Like he's a super incredible athlete, really good defensive back. So, yeah, like, there's not very many athletes, just pure athleticism on the team. There was actually a TikTok that went around of you know, them playing volleyball with, like, you know, the volleyball team, Harper Marine. He was like pounding the hell out of it. So that shows you what kind of athlete that Quinn Clark is. So hopefully, I mean, we have another week to go. Hopefully, you know, we'll guard against any other departures. So how would you grade? You know, we went through all those letter grades, play by player, you know, player by player. What would your grade be for the class as a whole? And anybody listening on the chat can throw their grade in here too.
Absolutely. Overall, I think a solid B. There's proven production. There's a lot of potential, and overall, just really solid athletes. I think they're doing a really good job of not overpaying for one particular player and addressing the needs that they have. I will say that, you know, me and you have heard that there might be some more needs addressed in you know, the next couple weeks. So what we see here isn't necessarily, you know, the final makeup, so to speak. But overall, I'd definitely give it a solid B, and they are working hard to revamp the roster.
Yeah, I think a B is fair. I'm gonna say I'm gonna give them a B minus. I think it's been a solid effort. They still obviously have work to do. You know, defensive tackle. It would be nice if they could, you know, land one of those guys. That JUCO from like Iowa Western, I think, would be a nice guy to get. Although it's going to be, you know, not another weird name. I think it's Barbarija or something. So
Andy
anyway,
Roberge,
yeah. So that
and
would
they're
be a
also
nice
looking
pickup.
at the freshman defense tackle from Pitt. That was the All ACC kid that just entered too. So
Yeah, so there's been, I mean, you can see how quickly they go, you know, through the defensive tackle targets because it's been like boom, boom, boom off the board. So hopefully they can lock down, you know, one of those, but they're certainly trying. I think that they will. I think they're very determined to get that done. Obviously, they do need to, yeah, they definitely need to you know, focus on running back. I think there's a reason why we haven't seen them,
yeah,
you know, take any visits, or like there's somebody out that they're
yeah,
waiting for. So I would just put it that way, at least right now. And the other thing is, like, there's the running back, like the board. I would say, like, if we're going to talk about this, like the transfer portal board, the big board, the free agent board, it's not moving very quickly, right?
no.
Like it's not.
Overall, it's not. No.
Yeah, and I know Justice Haynes just got in there. I don't expect Nebraska to be in the mix for Justice Haynes. Like, he's just so expensive. That's the reason Michigan kicked him loose. They just could, because they already had, you know, Jordan Marshall and another five, then the number one running back from 2026. That just was, they couldn't have, and they added another guy from Oklahoma. Like, they couldn't afford what Georgia Tech was offering to pay him, and Georgia Tech's offering like $2 million. So I really don't see Justice Haynes as a solution for Nebraska. So I think there's another another back out there. And if that doesn't work out, then, like there's a guy like Dylan Edwards, the guy from Kansas State, he's hanging out there.
Yeah.
There's good players out there.
See, all the names that you're mentioning, I forgot about until you just mentioned them now. So, like, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so even, there's, Bryson, Kuzdal from Michigan, who played pretty well last year. So everyone is focused on Brown, meaning Shamar Brown.
Yeah.
But is he the answer? At running back, does he fit Dana's offense? So there's been a lot of chatter or suspicion, I guess. Now that Co kind of mentioned the topic, we'll go. But with that Nebraska's going to be targeting Shamar Brown, or that's who, they're hoping that he'll kind of enter the transfer portal. And I think maybe there's a decent chance that he will, because they were close to getting him last year. And look,
I wanted him bad last year.
Emmett Johnson produced, however many yards, a 1,500-yard season, this past season, and there's a role wide open for that. And I'm sure that they have, money allocated that, was going to go to Emmett, that they have, to spend at running back. So I feel like, this could make sense, but we'll see. I mean, there's no guarantee either, if that's like what they're waiting for, there's no guarantee that this guy's even going to enter into the portal. So, I mean, it is risky, betting on a guy that maybe isn't available, but, this is a guy who also has a lot of ties to Nebraska. So there's probably some back channel communications that Nebraska can feel pretty good about.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of well known too, but I don't think Emmett loved the idea of bringing in another running back at the time last year. So now that part of it's gone, it might be a little bit easier too. Because I mean, the same thing happened with Dante Dowdell, kind of, and how Dante left, but we'll see.
And then it is interesting too. So I want to go back to this question a little bit, but does he fit Dana's offense? And that's so it's really interesting because for the first time, since Holgerson's been here, he's going to have a run game coordinator, and it's going to be Lonnie Teasley. So I think the run game is going to look a little bit different. I think that's, and I'm not saying that it needs to look much different, but if you look at the offensive line, like they're adding a lot bigger pieces. They added a 330 pounder in, Babolade. I think Brandon Black's pretty high up there
The
too.
offensive line is massive.
Yeah, and so that makes me wonder a little bit how, because it's hard to be, and they actually did a pretty good job of it last year, but it's kind of hard to be like a really good zone blocking team and a really good power blocking team, like especially if you're going to be like outside zone, like it's just, there's different, blocking skill sets. Like if you're running a lot of power plays inside, gap blocking, I mean, you're usually going to have pretty big guys, right? And sometimes those guys aren't necessarily, quite as athletic to do like outside zone. Not that Nebraska did a ton of it last year, but like, so I don't know. I think it's just going to be interesting to see how, Lonnie Teasley pairs the running game, with Jeep Wade, this offensive line, and with Holgerson, and also having a running quarterback too, because, that's something they didn't have last year. And when you introduce the quarterback in the run game, it does help you out quite a bit. And so, if they can incorporate that more, I think that's going to, for one, that'll also help the offensive line, because a lot of times you can basically scheme one player out of one defender out of the mix, and then you're kind of erasing a guy just by having the quarterback be part of the run game. So I think the running game is going to look a little bit different with Lonnie Teasley as the run game coordinator.
Hey, Adam, good morning to you. And I don't think we're okay with this running back room, and I wouldn't be surprised if they at least try to make a very strong push for Shamar Brown and other guys coming in the portal a little bit later. I think, like Chris mentioned just a few minutes ago, the running back room really isn't moving fast, so there are targets still out there, still available. And so I don't know about you, Chris, but I would anticipate, more movement in the running back room as far as the transfer portal is concerned closer to signing day. Like, I feel like that's when we'll hear something.
Yeah, I think some more, obviously, yeah, they're not going to go into next season with,
No.
Mekhi Nelson and Isaiah Mosley is competing for the starting job. So I don't think we need to worry about that. I do think those guys are going to have a role. I mean, it's interesting to see how they do this, because I think you could make a case that they could need 2 transfer portal running backs, to be honest with you. But I don't know if that's, if they have the money for that, if they're going to, save up all their money and kind of invest in one guy. It's kind of interesting because, everybody has money, but everybody has a limit on how much money they can spend. I mean, for the most part, I think, even Texas Tech probably has limits, right? Like there's,
I mean,
I
do they building a billboard in Times Square? Do they really have
I
limits?
mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the limit is, but I
$2
mean,
billion.
yeah, but at least for everybody, I mean, there's got to be. Good morning, Cornborn Mike.
Hey,
Thank you for
Cornborn,
hopping in
good
the
to see you
chat.
again. Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like how you going to allocate all your funds and where and you talked about I think Rules talked about what are some of their priorities, and I think they've tried to address a lot of those, like, and running back's going to be one of them. So the thing with running back is, like, Nebraska, they don't value it. I think Rule made it like 7th or 8th on their valuation list, which isn't probably different from most teams. So it's like, okay, how much money do you have there? And so is it going to take like all of your money to try to get Shamar Brown, if that's, because he's getting paid a decent amount right now in Miami, like, they're on a national championship team. So you're going to have to make that, make it worth his while, make it sweeten his pot. So like, say you've got, they're like, Pat Stewart's like, hey, I'll allocate $800,000 for running back. I mean, I'm not saying that's how it works out, but maybe it does. Like, you know what I mean? You got, $20-30 million, like, or maybe there's a couple $1 million there. If you've got Nelson and Mosey have a little bit, then you're probably trying to save up as much as you can for Shamar Brown, because who knows, like, you might have an offer, but Miami might come back and counteroffer, so you might be sitting here, like, you might not want to spend any of your NIL money at running back on like a backup guy yet, because you don't know exactly how much it's going to take to get Shamar Brown, if that's what you're going for. So I think that Frazier, I haven't seen it. I think he committed somewhere. He might be one that actually committed. I am not sure. Let me double check there.
I'll check for you. You can
okay
talking.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I definitely I don't think Nebraska is anywhere settled, at running back, and so yeah, we'll just kind of see how that progresses. But there's a couple of really solid options out there, and yeah, Justice Haynes is out there.
No, he's not committed yet to anywhere.
Okay, so yeah, it's they did have some interest in him. They had some interest in the kid from Minnesota. Fame, whatever his name is, and then he went to Purdue.
I wasn't going to try to pronounce his last name, but yeah.
I mean, so that might be like, they might be, if you're looking at it and you've got, okay, Shamar Brown and Fame are on your board, right? Well, Shamar Brown's obviously probably the top guy on your board, and so it's like, okay, do you want to get into a bidding war for the second guy on your board that might make you lose the top guy on your board because you wasted too much money? It's like, no. So sometimes you just have to be patient. I know that's hard in this era of the transfer portal, but that's just sort of how it has to play out. And I definitely feels like they, have an ace up their sleeve as far as the running back goes.
Yeah, and then also I wanted to touch on this really quickly. Defensive line target Dylan Berryman is on campus this weekend, so that's something to watch for too. To me, he's a guy you can kind of plug in and play right away.
Yeah, I mean, he's ranked, but 24/7 has him as a top 100 player. So, and he was committed to Texas, and he's, was what, 6'2", like 320, 30 pounds, like that. That might be the guy, when you're talking about, that's a very interesting decision too, like resource allocation. Do you go, and this is where, like Pat Stewart and Matt Rule, like, they have to make these decisions.
This is where I would hate to be Pat Stewart. I'd be like, I don't know. Figure it out.
It's kind of interesting though, because it's like, okay, do you take, so like you got the guy from Iowa Western or whatever, like how much money is he going to take, to get? And so it's like, do you pay for him, or do you invest in, this blue chip high school player who's, probably a higher, what's my
ceiling?
Yeah, just like a better recruit than you've been able to get outside of like Malcolm Simpson on your defensive line. So I don't know. Like, I do agree with you, Co, that interior guys usually do need a few years. I mean, some really good ones though can contribute like right away. They, like Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, I know those are 2 first-round picks, but they contributed right away for Michigan. I'm not like, you can definitely do it. I mean, Kate Patrizak contributed a little bit last year. Like, I'm thinking that type of contribution, just like a little bit better. Not somebody that's going to start probably, but could have some depth. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Like, do you save, part of your NIL money for Berryman and then, try to get like a JUCO or somebody less rated, as opposed to somebody like that Malcolm Alcorn Crowder or whatever, who I can't remember where he went, but he came off the board. So that's where some of these things are kind of interesting in how you go about building your roster.
Yeah, and as far as the guys needing a few years, and it sucks that this is the way it is now, but I mean, you might not get a few years with these guys. You might get 1 year. I mean, you just
Yeah,
look at all these rosters, and it's like they're changing every single year.
yeah, and even good players that you recruit, it's hard to keep them because they want to play right away. So, or somebody else is saying, hey, we'll pay you a little bit more and we'll let you play. And so,
Like Shamar Brown, for example, probably.
yeah, probably, yeah, like, hey, we can, oh, Miami's paying you 400,000, but we'll pay you 600,000, and you can be our starter. I mean,
Yeah,
that's how the game works,
yeah,
and it's hard, so it's kind of like, yeah, can't blame you. And that's like when you go back to the whole Michigan of it, like that's where, like, on the Michigan side, like I'm not heartbroken at all that Justice Haynes is in the portal. Like I think that was the right thing to do because the reality of it is Michigan was not going to keep Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes and Savion Hyder, the number one running back. You just can't do it. That's three guys that are, I mean, what are you going to pay three guys over $1 million to play running back? That's insane. You can't do that, and so it's like, sometimes it's a good move for both sides. And I think the Jamar Brown thing would probably be a good move for both sides because Miami's not going to, like, they might get into a bidding war, but they're probably not going to get into a bidding war for their third running back. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah,
So,
because you look at Miami, they have Mark Fletcher, Jordan Lyle, Chris Wheatley Humphrey. Pringle played really well at the end of the season for them. So, I mean, there's so many running backs and only so many carries to go around. And Miami, like Michigan, has a really talented running back room, and there has to be an odd man out, unfortunately.
and yes, and sometimes that's where, a team like Nebraska can hop in and take advantage. So, yeah, and in terms of like the defensive line, back to the development part of it, that's where, like Malcolm Simpson, Tyson Terry, Kate Patrizak, like if there's, like, honestly, if there's going to be any hope for this Nebraska defense, like in the next few years, like it's going to be from those guys, Williams,
Yeah.
Noweri, like they really got to. And so, yeah, if you could add Dylan Berriman to that mix, I think that would be a home run, honestly. And I mean, it's just, you don't want to, if you could avoid going through a class without a single defensive line, signing, I think that would be, a good thing to do. And he's like good enough to drop a little bit of a bag on here. So hopefully they wrap up his commitment.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully our defensive line coach loses today, or our defensive line coach candidate loses today. I don't want to misspeak too much, and he can get rolling here, but I don't know if it's not Franco Cam, then I'm not sure.
Yeah, if it's not Franco Cam, then I don't know who in the heck it would be at that point. So
Matt Rule, defensive line coach.
Matt Rule, defensive line. I mean, who knows, man? If it works, like, whatever. I mean,
can't get much worse.
Yeah, can't get. And some guys play better. I mean, I thought Ben Popple, like I said, played better. So I don't know. I do think this defensive line, like the more I was thinking about it the other day, I think it's good. I think it is a little bit better than we're giving it credit for. Because at your end spots, you've got Leonard, who's going into his senior season, right? He'd be a senior this year, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I'm not saying he's played like his best football, but he's all right, and he has some pass. Like I think he hasn't played his best football. I'll put it that way, but we know what his floor is. He's not horrible. If he went into the transfer portal, like he would end up at another Big Ten school or something.
He's definitely serviceable for sure.
Yeah, and then you got Noweri, I think has a chance to be a good player, especially with a really good D-line coach. I think Patrizak. Yeah, I think Patrizak and Noweri can both be NFL draft picks. So that's three guys that I think are, pretty serviceable. And then you look at defensive tackle, and I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, okay, you got Simpson, you got Tyson Terry, which I know those are both guys that, they have work to do. But then you have, it's Gabe Moore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think Gabe Moore, I was just thinking about this the other day. I think that Gabe Moore would play really, actually is going to fit really well in this defense. And so when he went before he transferred to Nebraska at Mississippi State, he was supposed to be like in a 2 deep in their defensive tackle room. He's 6'5", he's listed at 6'5", 290, Gabe Moore. And so this is a guy I don't think that's getting talked about very much. He's going to be in the mix. David Hofkin, I mean, 6'7", 285 pounds. He got some run last year. That's another guy that's going to be in the mix. And then if you add, the Iowa Western guy there, then you've got 5-6 defensive tackles that I think are like actually pretty legitimately decent. So, I don't know. I feel a little better about, and then I didn't even mention Riley Van Poppel. And, I thought he played fairly well.
I wasn't high on him until that bowl game.
Yeah.
I kept watching him pop up on the screen. I'm like, okay. Maybe he was like John Butler's incompetence.
I know it's like really stupid, but like, you know, when I would play NCAA football with the Nebraska defense, I'm like, these guys don't fit this defense. Like this is
Yeah.
weird. You
No,
know,
it's
it's
not
like
like because it is pretty lifelike, except when I
I'm
yell at the quarterback for throwing so many interceptions, and then I realize it's me pressing the buttons. Then it's like,
yeah, that does happen sometimes. Although I get really upset when what really angers me is when like the computer picks off like the DB's head is
yeah,
not turned around at all and he
yeah,
has like eyes in the back of his head. I'm like, oh, that's
yeah.
cool. But anyway, it's just like, you know, they just didn't really fit like a three-man front. So you know, I think all those guys fit a four-man front a lot better.
Yeah,
S-
absolutely.
So yeah. So
So
isn't
Cam is
and
on Monday. Andrew says so.
I freaking hope so. I do like Cocaine. He did a good job with Temple, and I know where, or not Temple, excuse me, Toledo. Well, he was at Baylor before, but I know everybody was talking about the Toledo defensive coordinator. Well, this guy was his D line coach for 2 years, and like they immediately when he came there,
Yeah,
like their sack total went way up.
they were good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and I like that, a guy that's recruited, a guy that's coached
Oh,
college, but also has coached, you know, in the NFL. But
so
isn't
Andrew's
the
just saying these are his ideal coaches, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something on Ocam soon.
I would think hopefully after this week, hopefully who are the Texans playing again? The
Uh,
Bills? Is it the
no,
Bills?
let me look. Let me look. That's so bad. I should know
It
this.
is so it's kind of embarrassing. I don't know the NFL. When I was like, man, when I was a kid, I knew everything. Like I lived by these games, and it was even if it was like, you know, I didn't miss a single minute of
Steelers
any
on
like.
Monday night. That's right.
Okay, oh, that's right. My boy Aaron Rodgers will get us a coach because
I
he'll
don't want
knock.
us to get demonetized, but screw Aaron Rodgers.
I know. I'm just saying though, knock Houston out of the playoffs though for us, old man. And
Yeah,
then
do something useful.
yeah, at least it can be useful for once. So yeah, that would be good. I mean, Texans, Raiders, you know, he's done really solid work. He's got 2 jobs in the NFL coaching. He's like the assistant D-line coach now.
What's not to say you can't bring the Iowa Western defensive line coach on as an assistant or something? I don't know.
Isn't the Iowa Western D-line, isn't that Tyson Terry's dad?
I
I
believe
think
so.
it
Yeah,
is. Which I
and
mean, yeah,
he's building like he's building monsters. So like, come on over.
no, he's probably a bad. He probably would do a good
Yeah.
job. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, Tyson Terry's kind of a badass. So, I mean, I'm sure his dad's probably knows what he's doing.
How
And
much of
like,
a
honestly,
I'm
sometimes
just
coaches like that, like, I mean, to me, like a JUCO coach, he's probably like a high school coach. He probably actually really is good at his job.
an Iowa Western is a good JUCO school. Like
Yeah,
it's a really, especially for linemen. How much of a jump do you think we'll make with our new recruits, game plan, and schedule next year? Ooh,
that's a loaded question, Cornborn Mike. But thank you. How much? Okay, so let's start with. All right, so like yeah, I think it's all related because I mean they're starting off well with this recruiting class, but are they going to be able to do well enough on the field to hold together? You know, that's what I'm wondering. I hope so. I feel like that they're I don't know, like we all are super freaking out about the schedule, and maybe, you know, it probably will be as difficult as we say, but maybe it won't be.
yeah,
I don't know. Like maybe Illinois will suck, you know, maybe like Indiana won't. I'm sure they'll be really good, but maybe they won't be like the super amazing Indiana team that destroys everybody. You know, I don't know. Maybe Washington won't be quite as good, although they did get Demond Williams back after how awkward, you know, is that situation now. But I'm glad
well,
that
it's really
I am
weird
glad
that
it worked out, though. I'm glad that the Big Ten, I'm glad that Washington stood their ground and were like, no, we're not putting your name in the portal. We're not
yeah,
doing it, you know? So that's kind of where they did have some leverage because the school does have to put your name in the portal. And it was like, no, you don't. But it's also interesting because it's like, you know, these schools are trying to say, oh, this guy breached the contract, but you know, what is his contract though? To do dippity doo dah? Like you're not paying,
yeah,
his contract isn't to play football for you. So that's where you get the holdup because the contract is to do everything, but you know, before you're actually getting paid to do. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It'd be like if the newspaper I worked for, they're like, well, we're not actually going to pay you to write stories. We're just going to pay you to wear like this shirt every other
yeah,
day. And as
yeah.
long as you know, and so then it's like, okay, so you can yell at me like I'll wear this shirt, but I'm not going to write. I'll write for another newspaper. So I don't know. It's a really weird.
It's also
I'm
so weird that he had the same agent as his head coach.
Yeah, that is weird too. And when I saw a thing too about Jed Fish, and it was like, well, he was trying to upgrade, you know, 30 days ago. So I mean, and that's
Yeah,
the thing is, if he would have took another job, you know, whether it was like Michigan or somewhere else, and they didn't have a quarterback, he would have taken Demond Williams with him in a heartbeat. So
Well, that's why I'm
You
sick of
know,
all this be like, oh, no player loyalty, blah, blah, blah. It's the coaches too. Like, I'm sick of it just being a players thing. It's the coaches. What they need to do is they need to make the transfer portal from May to August, have spring ball, figure out who you're going to have on the roster, make a list during spring ball of who you don't want to keep, have the players ready to go in the transfer portal by May, have it last, like, I don't know, maybe even like mid-July or something. Players get acclimated to their new homes by August, get ready for preseason camp, and then start with their new teams.
I agree with all that, except I would do the transfer portal before. I would push spring ball back to like May, and I would say, okay,
Okay.
April like 1st to the 15th. This is when we're
Okay.
going to do our transfer window. Then that gives you plenty of time as a student athlete, which I know is supposed to be. Then you can
I was thinking
enroll
about the academic part. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then that would actually give you time to like enroll and get into like your fall classes. Like,
Yeah.
it actually makes sense academically. And
Yeah.
then, okay, portal's closed April 15th. You can
Mhm.
start, your spring practice is May 1st. And then, let them do OTAs and mini camp and all the stuff that, that you do. And then,
Mhm.
because of, having the portal open longer than 2 weeks would give me an aneurysm probably. So, but besides that, I think it's a good, anyway, I want to try to answer your question here more. Cornborn Mike, we kind of went off on a tangent there, but so the schedule, I don't know. I think it's so hard because I want to say that they've upgraded at quarterback, which I know feels like a shot at Raiola, and it's not. It's just I'm talking about. I think Anthony Colandrea this season will be a better quarterback than Dylan Raiola was last season.
I agree.
So I do think that they'll be more productive there, and that's kind of a thing where like going back to the Signetti of it all. He is a guy that values production over potential, so he's not taking guys like, hey, Dylan Raiola can be this guy in 2 years. He's taking a guy that's already that, and then he's just like, I'll go get another one, and I'll go get another one, and I'll go get another one, and that's what they're doing. So that's where they have built more through the portal than even I thought was possible. So it's quarterback's better. I think the defense is going to be better. I don't see how the defense could be worse. I think the defense,
I was gonna say if they're worse, I'm like retiring from this podcast, and I don't know.
but then again, so they would have to to get above 6 wins, and even so they're they're 3 non-conference games. They're not even worth mentioning. Those will be wins. And then they play Rutgers, Maryland, and is it Northwestern? There's like one other team that's like a semi decently like crappy that we should beat, but like not. There's no like guaranteed wins. Like
No.
I think the easiest Big Ten game we have is like Maryland at home or Rutgers on the road. Which isn't easy. I mean, like mid-level Big Ten teams, have lost to Rutgers on the road. Like
We
worse
have
worse
we
teams
have
than us.
so our Big Ten slate is Indiana, Maryland, Ohio State, Washington, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan State, Oregon, and Rutgers.
Okay, so Michigan State is the other. So basically, like if you're Nebraska, you need to win your non-conference games, and then you have to beat Maryland, with an up-and-coming quarterback who almost beat us last year, though that game will be in Lincoln. You got to beat Rutgers on the road, and they got to beat a Pat Fitzgerald-led Michigan State team, which is going to be one of the most improved teams in the country. Like that guy's a really good. Like it's so funny because like sometimes Michigan fans are stupid, but they made fun of Matt Patricia when he was hired at Ohio State, and I was like, no, this is actually good. This is going to be a really good hire. And they did this for some reason. They did the same thing when Pat Fitzgerald got there because he sucked like the last few years at Northwestern. It's like, I mean, Michigan State's not Northwestern. I know it's not that much higher, but like,
Michigan State also got a nice like $400 million like grant as soon as he was hired, so that helped too.
Yeah, and it's like if you give Pat Fitzgerald some groceries, he'll make you a nice meal. So like that's not going to be an easy game to win next year either for Nebraska. So you have to win all those games just to get to 6, and then Washington, Illinois. I mean, I do think a winning season's like possible. Like I said, if they get to 8 wins, then I'll campaign for Matt Rule to be like national coach of the year because that's how hard the schedule is going to looks on paper.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see it. I could see it now, and then I'm not expecting a leap. 6 to 7 wins would be ideal, and at that point, I know people want Matt Rule gone and whatever, but you have to keep him if he gets at least 6.
Yeah, it's going to be people are going to be like, oh, this team has a worse. What's going to happen is this team's like going to be better, but have a worse record. They'll be like 6-6, but actually like a better team. So I don't know. just prepare for that. This year's going to be a really interesting season, but I don't. Yeah, I think he's immune from getting fired this year. Like, I think it's going to take a couple years. So even I think if he has like a bad year this year, I think that would probably like push them to the point of him actually like being on the hot seat. So even if they have a losing season, like I really don't think Matt Rule's going anywhere next year. So, so yeah, I think hopefully they can keep. Back to your question, Cornborn Mike. Hopefully they can like get some of these big time recruits like Ahmad Houston or like Hudson.
That one's going to be close.
Yeah, there seems to be momentum there. They did have momentum with Xavier Balla, but I know with a lot of big time recruitments, it seems like they want to see if Nebraska can win some of these games, and they haven't really done that. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if you still, if that's still like a requirement anymore, or if kids are just going to take the money and because there is a certain part of it too, as like a player, like, well, they haven't won, but if they get me, they will win. So I don't know how much of that will factor into it.
Well, I mean, and I totally missed this, and I wanted to bring it up to you, but Scott Frost got Alonzo Barrett, so it's like,
who's that? Who did he get?
The JMU transfer quarterback.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm like, that's interesting. So I mean, maybe it is like, can I come in and be the guy? Because he was not somebody I pegged for UCF, but there you go.
Yeah, and yeah, it's very interesting. It's a brave new world of college football, but you know what? I kind of love it though. I mean, like this, that's what I was like. This playoff, like last year, I mean, it probably just was because Ohio State won it that I have like such negative feelings towards the first one. But well, and a lot of the games weren't that close either.
No, they were boring last year.
And when this year, I mean, yeah, last night's game was lame, but like Thursday night's game was awesome.
Like, that was so awesome.
Every game Miami's played has been freaking awesome.
My phone was blowing up all night. I was like, damn, like that game was so much fun.
And like, I'm not a U fan, obviously, being a Nebraska guy. Like, I don't like the U, like the Warren Sapp, but Mario, I'm really liking Mario Cristobal, and that little, his little not stunt, but the way he acted on the
SVP show.
No, when they were doing the award ceremony, it just cracked me up. My God, because he was sitting there being like, they were about to give him the trophy, and he's like, "Can we get more players on the field instead of some of these like random people?" And it was all the bowl officials up there.
Because it was like he was just trying to grab his trophy, and like there were like 15 people just like around him. I don't blame him either. It's like
so the lady just ignored him and didn't address that at all, and like kept like going through the trophy presentation. You should find this video if you have. It's so maybe it's not funny to anybody else, but it cracks. So then she like starts talking, and he's like, how they have those sign language people who like interpret. So then he starts sign languaging things, and she's like, and Miami won a great game, and then he's all up there like 1-0. He's like doing the 1-0, and then he's doing the M behind her, and it's just like it was cracking me up the way he was just standing there like being like 1-0. Like I don't know why, I don't know what it was, but I was like, I like this guy, and he's built a great culture there. You look at these two teams. One thing you can say about them undeniably is they both have great cultures, and they love like playing together. So that's part of the reason why they're playing for the national championship.
And I'm not gonna say this is like, but it took Mario 4 seasons. People wanted his ass gone, last year. I mean, and
I remember when they did the. Remember when he didn't kneel the ball and Haynes came?
Oh yes, I do.
That was when that happened. I was like, maybe this won't work. But when he got hired, I remember I wrote something for Saturday Blitz, and it was like they were one of the teams that like coaches that I thought him and Lincoln Riley. I was wrong about Lincoln Riley and USC, at least so far. But I was like, Mario Cristobal can do some work because he rebuilt an Oregon program. That was not a great He took over for Willie Taggart, who kind of ran into the ground. And so, yeah, he's a really good coach. But I don't know if he's good enough to beat like the man Kurt Signetti. We'll see. That's going to be a good game though.
I kind of hope so, just because I get people want to be like Kurt Signetti, but what we're seeing, and I'll keep repeating this till I'm blue in the face, is probably one of the greatest runs in college sports, and Indiana could probably be put into conversation. I think is one of the greatest college football teams of all time, especially if they win this next game.
Yeah, I mean the scoring margin definitely holds up. I think they have the largest scoring margin of any team in the college football playoff in the playoff era, so that definitely holds up. And I would say this, like without question, this is the greatest coaching job I've ever seen in sports, unequivocally ever. I mean, and that's, I mean, just single season. I mean, personally, I still think that Bill Belichick is the greatest football coach of all time. I know people like want to degrade him, but I still think what he did with the Patriots is incredible.
Yeah, let's specify only with the Patriots. Let's keep his Patriots legacy intact.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it is hard to win if you don't have players, and he's not. Yeah, Bill the GM is not. That's why they don't. That's why they don't let the coach be the GM. You know what I mean? But Kurt Signetti, I guess, is his own GM, so maybe that is the wrong thinking. But yeah, this is what he's done is truly incredible. I didn't think it was possible, and yeah, I mean, it's been made possible by this transfer portal era and all that. But he found the formula, and it's going to be interesting to see if people like try to replicate it, like like Alabama's going to start turning down the 4-stars to get 2-star kids to recruit to develop them for 3 years. Like I'm just joking, but it's going to be interesting though to see how teams do try to adapt to his model, because that's what teams do. They see somebody else win and they try to copy it.
And it's interesting, and I don't know if this report is true. I saw it and people were talking about it, but Mark Cuban was helping out Indiana financially. Is that an accurate report?
Yeah, because he's an Indiana grad. So yeah,
I didn't know he was an Indiana grad. I thought he was.
Wish our boy Warren Buffett would do the same thing.
Yeah, I've given up on Warren Buffett as far as helping football.
I know. I saw somewhere that somebody, which I guess they took the time to do this, but they said they said 0.06, like, so literally 0.5% of his personal wealth could give Nebraska a $40 million roster in every sport, is what I heard. So I mean, which probably, so it's literally like chump change. He could fund a $40 million roster, but whatever, that's fine. It's his money.
I just and I get we need to develop and this and that. We need to do better in the transfer portal, but it's becoming more and more evident as Mark Cuban is basically subsidizing Indiana football, and billboards are putting up in Times Square that we need somebody like that. All right, to keep up, we need somebody like that. I don't know if we have them.
Yeah, you do need somebody like that, or I don't.
Maybe Gabrielle Union can help. I don't know. Adam Devine can help. I love him in Workaholics, especially funny show.
That one girl in from, dang it, that TV show. Oh my gosh, that TV show. Way to be more descriptive, Chris. The oh my lord, it's with the nerd show. She wears the Nebraska shirt on the nerd show.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Big Bang Theory. I could not think of that anyway. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting because Matt Rule has taken this kind of development. Like, we're gonna have a lot of young players and try to supplement it. So you would think, like, year 4, year 5, like, will that ever come to fruition? And so that's where, with like some of those guys like Braylon Prudy and Larry Tarver, like, that's where I'm glad to see those guys stay, because it's like, well, that was part of the plan, is to get guys like that, develop them to like a portal level replacement player, and that's how we're gonna get our advantage. So hopefully that someday that will prove to be accurate.
As much as it sucks to say, I think Matt Rule kind of got caught in terms of doing it the old school way of developing players, and then the transfer portal just exploded like that over the last 2 or 3 years in particular. So that put him behind in a way, because over these last 2 seasons, I've never seen anything like this transfer portal, and it's happened very, very fast. And they've tried to adapt to it, but I mean, Nebraska as a whole didn't really get involved in anything until the last year and a half.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, it's not like, look how many defensive linemen they've tried to get, So yeah, it makes it difficult. Hopefully they get a better system for this, because I think everybody, fans, maybe not the players, because they're getting money. Not that they shouldn't get money, but there's a better way to build more stability and still.
Look, man, I just wanted Johnny Manziel to make a profit off his jersey at the bookstore. I didn't want $4 million contracts going out to kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's gone too far, but that's what happens when you open Pandora's box. That's what they say. But anyway, I don't know if anybody cares about the Nebraska basketball team today, but they do.
I do.
I'm gonna be stoked up for that one. 11 Central Time. Indiana, pretty big favorite. 4.5 points, not a big favorite, but this is just a really interesting matchup, because Indiana and Nebraska are both, they shoot the 3, they defend the 3 pretty well. Just really similar teams. Indiana very different from who they were under Mike Woodson, where they always had 7 or 8 top 100 recruits, but they always underachieved. This team has one top 100 recruit and a bunch of like seniors and transfers and playing pretty well. So I don't know. I can see why they
football team.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly like the football team. I could see why they're favored over Nebraska. They're one of 15 teams. Nebraska's not one of them, but they are one of 15 teams, Indiana's, that has a top 30 offense and defense, according to the Ken Palm rankings. But if you look at, both teams' offenses and defenses, like those 4 rankings, Nebraska's defense is the highest ranked out of all of those. So that's why I think Nebraska's going to win this game. Is I think their elite defense will show up again.
I think they'll win by like 4 or 5, but Assembly Hall, one of my favorite venues in college basketball, tough place to play. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like the Ohio State game where I think it'll come down to, last possession. They'll have a shot to try to win the game.
Frager masterclass late in the third. I would take that.
Yeah, and Rank's going to they're going to have to shoot better than they did against Ohio State, but it would be, two road wins in a row. And this would be their third if they got this one today. This would be their third Big Ten road win already.
This be quad 1?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
That would be 6 quad 1 wins, I think.
And Lamar, the couple names to know: Lamar Wilkerson, 6'4" guard. He leads the Big Ten in 3-point shooting, so he's kind of a dynamic 3-point shooter, 41%. And then Tucker DeVries, who is the son of head coach Darian DeVries. So between those two guys, they make 6.2 3-point field goals per game. So it's just,
wow.
I think that's going to tell the story of the game. As Indiana, they shoot almost all their attempts from 3, and Nebraska gives up most of their attempts from 3. And the one thing that's different though is whereas Nebraska gives up a bunch of 3-point attempts, like Nebraska gives up more 3-point attempts than basically any team in college basketball, Indiana doesn't. They don't like to give up 3-point shots. And so it's going to be interesting to see how, does Nebraska force those 3-point shots? Can they be patient to get good ones? And when they do, they got to knock them down. So that 3-point, it's kind of always a thing with Nebraska, but especially with this Indiana team, like this reminds me of the Wisconsin game. If Nebraska can defend that 3-point line, I think they'll win the game.
And over the last couple of games, I've been impressed with the way that Rink Mast has played in the post. His nice little hook shot that he can get. So I'm wondering if you see a lot of that today.
Yeah, I think they're not. Indiana's, they're a pretty solid defensive team. They don't have a lot of size though, and that's one thing that's they have one player on their roster that's above 6'10". So I think that Berke, this could be a chance for him to have a nice game, with the offensive rebounds.
Jared Garcia too, I'm thinking, right? Probably.
Good game. Garcia and Frager, and so hopefully they'll go out, and like at this point, I'm picking with them until they lose, because that's just the vibe I have with this team. Like Sam Hoiberg. To me, it's about Sam and it's about Rank Mass. I think those are your 2 most important players, and Sam kind of triggers the defense, Rank kind of triggers the offense, and as long as those guys play well and their their A game, bring their A game, so to speak, then I think Nebraska will find a way.
I can't wait for that Michigan game coming up at the end of the month, but we got a couple games before then. But
yeah, if we'll see if they can tough. If they win this one though, Nebraska, because they had like 3 or 4 games in a 3 and 4 stretch on the road. So I mean, if they can get this game, that'll really kind of move things forward as far as their record's concerned. And it's like you're going to have to start talking about this team as a Big Ten title contender. And I know everybody's kind of it's too early to give that over to Michigan. They almost lost to Penn State the other day, and they're like the worst team in the conference. Yeah. So, but yeah, after this game, it's home against Oregon, at Northwestern, home against Washington, at Minnesota. All 4 of those games are very winnable. So if Nebraska wins this game, I mean, there's a chance they could be undefeated for that Michigan game. Wouldn't that be something if both of those teams were undefeated? That'd be pretty crazy.
That would be nuts. It would be probably one of the most viewed games of the season. And man, I'm excited for that one. I really am.
It would be in Ann Arbor. I wish that game would be in Lincoln. That would be a crazy atmosphere. So anyway. All right, you guys. Well, we better wrap it up here. If you have any other comments or questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. But thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us again today. We'll be back on Monday. We'll talk about, whatever transfer portal happenings come this weekend. I'm sure there'll be some, hopefully, a new defensive line commitment from Iowa Western. Hopefully, I would love that, but we'll cover all that. We'll cover the basketball game. And so if you haven't, please make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and get in the comment section. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.